Well, good afternoon. Looking back on Saturday, a number of things stuck out. Obviously, the first thing is we got a huge road win for our program and for the guys, and I thought that was an exceptional win. However you get it, obviously it wasn't perfect. I thought we started the game really well, and I thought we finished the game really well. In between, obviously, had some hiccups, had some issues. The great thing when you have success and win, I think sometimes it's easier to go back and challenge the guys and say, hey, we have to improve, and we know we have to improve and get a lot better. I think offensively, a couple things stuck out that we need to improve upon would be perimeter blocking, and it's not just wide receivers, it's offensive linemen, tight ends, running backs, because we have to be able to get the edge, and we've got to do a better job out there. And then obviously we weren't as good on third down as we'd been in the past, and I think part of that is we were in a lot more third and long situations. On defense, our tackling still has to improve. I think Hill's a phenomenal running back, and he made us, earn every hit. But we have to continue to improve upon tackling. And then, the sudden change aspect on defense, we talk a lot about that when a sudden change happens off a turnover or something, you have to be able to respond. And, we didn't respond the first time when we fumbled a punt and they scored a touchdown. And then probably the disappointing one was we intercept a pass, they make a good play, strip the ball, and then they take it 79 yards after that to score. So we've got to get better on sudden change. And then obviously in special teams, can't have a penalty, which we had on a good return. And then we have to field punts. Something that we talked about at length yesterday and Sunday, and something we have to do a better job. And it's guys trying to make a play. I'm not making excuses for them. They're trying to make a play, and they got to understand the situation. And the number one thing we have to do on a punt return is get possession back for our offense. So we'll clean those errors up. We have this week that we're going to spend an awful lot of time on ourselves and continue to improve upon some of the things that we're working on, as well as work a lot of younger guys into some not necessarily roles, but put them into some situations because they haven't gotten a chance to really play much with the conference or with the non-conference schedule we've had. So open it up for questions.
Chris, maybe a silly question, but how do you keep this team hungry after a big win?
Well, I think the things I just talked about, that we're not clicking on all cylinders. I believe that we have to stay humble and stay hungry, not be seduced by the success that we have had. That those guys see it, they watch film and say, boy, we really could play a lot better on this phase offensively or this phase defensively. And, I was frustrated because I think if we field the punt, we maybe go in 13-0, 17-0, and maybe it's a different game, and that was a huge momentum. And that's the other thing is, just managing the ebbs and flows of games is something that we've got to continue to improve upon.
Obviously, the schedule this week, your assistants kind of being on the road recruiting, how valuable is this time to you guys?
It's valuable, but it's still not a contact period. It's still an evaluation. So we'll have the assistants here through Thursday. I mean, we're going to get a lot of work done from a practice standpoint and meeting standpoint, and continue. We're still teaching. We're still implementing a lot of the things with our playbooks offensively and defensively. We couldn't afford to say, hey, every coach just get out of here and start going and recruiting. The most important thing for me is the current football team. And so we have to do a good job of continuing to work on fundamentals, techniques, and continuing to teach our offense and defense.
Given that the Big 12 is quite a bit different from the non-conference games you faced so far, is there any one thing you'll emphasize in the next 2 weeks to get ready for that?
Not any one thing. We'll spend more time on Oklahoma State just because we have, that's the next game in front of us, and we have at least some film on those guys. And, they haven't had the most competitive games in the non-conference, but there's still some things we can work on. So, that's probably where our focus will go after we work on ourselves.
Is this a situation a little bit like the start of the season when you had a little extra time for Nichols to make sure your guys got off to a good, solid foundation start in the non-conference, and now you can replicate that in the conference?
You can't replicate it totally simply because we didn't know anything, just like you guys didn't know prior to Nicholls State of what you were going to see from Kansas State. So now that we do know a little bit about our team, through 3 games, okay, here's the things we have to work on. Forget who we're playing. Here's the things we have to get better on, whether that's the perimeter blocking, tackling, a certain aspect of special teams, whatever it may be. We have to work on that part, but then absolutely push forward and say, okay, now let's do some scouting, let's do some scout work on our next opponent.
How important of a factor in that game Saturday was just bringing an attitude of not being intimidated by Mississippi State and an SEC team?
Not necessarily intimidated or intimidating. I think it was just belief that we were going to win. We talked in here last Monday that we really believed we had a better football team watching film. Now, would that play out on the field? We thought it could. You guys played these guys last year. We're watching them on film. Believe we can win this game. Believe it's going to happen. And I thought we finished the game really well. And I think finishing is part of believing. You know, if you believe you're going to get it done, you're going to finish better. And that's something that I was so pleased with the guys. There wasn't any panic on the sideline when we got down and things weren't going well. You know, if one play happens, all of a sudden your momentum can swing. And that play happened, and the momentum did swing back. And then they really took it over from there, because I thought in the fourth quarter we were the better football team.
How much do you have to try to back off a little bit during the bye week just to get guys some extra rest?
A little bit you do, because you're able to play, you know, a few more guys. We'll rotate a few more younger guys into the rotation, but you still got to get your work done. There's certain things technique-wise where, pass rush stuff. We have to continue to work our top guys on pass rush and working with each other. We have to work some coverages where you want to make sure that the linebacker, that Eli's out there with J-Mac, or that AJ's out there with Denzel, so the communication continues to improve. Same thing offensively, but obviously we got through this game really well from a health standpoint, so it'll allow us to continue to push those starters forward.
How would you assess Skylar's body of work through the non-conference, and where can he get better?
I think his body of work has been exceptional in the fact that he's done the number one thing we asked him to do, and that's take care of the football and lead the team and put us in excellent situations. In the first half, I thought he did a great job, and the thing that I think he's getting so comfortable with is seeing a picture and changing a play. Because of the fact we're a huddle team, and he's getting the call from Coach Mess, implements the call, comes to the line of scrimmage. If there's certain things that we don't like, he has the ability to change those plays, and he's doing a great job of seeing those pictures. And that's the thing that I think he will continue to improve upon, is just seeing more pictures, seeing more coverages, seeing more pressure looks within our structure of our offense. And that's something that it's probably a never-ending battle that you're always trying to improve upon, but that's what I know that we would like him to continue to work on.
The defense is really off to a hot start. How anxious are you to see what this defense can do in the Big 12?
Well, I'm anxious to see, just because I think we on defense need to get so much better and so much cleaner. When I say cleaner, maybe it's in a fit and we don't have two guys in the same gap. Maybe it's in a coverage and we don't pass something off that we should have passed off on a exchange route, and the fact that we're just scratching the surface, I think, defensively, what we can be, and we also know we have to play better on defense in a league that we're going into with the conference schedule we have, because everybody can run it and everybody can throw it. Where this past week, our number one goal was to stop and slow down the run game. And if they got us through the air, that was how they were going to have to do it. And I thought for the most part, Hill had his yards, but he didn't have the explosive plays. We did a nice job of getting him into some long yard situations.
I know you said they were close to playing on Saturday, but would you expect Wyatt and Walter to be back in
They
2
both
weeks?
practiced yesterday, which was good. Now, today will be a contact day. I don't think either one of them will have contact, but I'm very hopeful that they'll be pushed into normal practice play by Wednesday or Thursday.
I also wanted to ask about the running back rotation. Jordan actually had a pretty good game early and put up some good numbers, but then you guys shifted and used James mostly late. Is there a reason why you guys favor him in those situations?
No, not necessarily. The first thing I'd say is in the third quarter, it didn't matter who the running back was. We were on defense the whole time. So that was you could have been anybody. We were so poor in the third quarter of getting off the field and staying on the field, and really, in essence, it turned into the last two drives where it was a little bit James, but nothing that sticks out.
Crossing my sports here, on the punt returns, is that almost like a young center fielder not knowing when to go for the catch and when you just need to let it go?
I think on the second one it was. The first one was we just muffed it. It was kicked at us and we muffed it. The second one, it was deflected, which changes everything as far as whether it's the spin to the knuckleball to whatever. But yeah, it's so, in my opinion, it's so much easier to go back on a punt than it is ever to come up on a punt. It was decades ago, but I used to return punts, and going back is much easier than going forward. When you are going forward, you're better off letting it bounce. Even if you lose the yards, you're gaining the possession back.
After having a chance to go back and look at it, the two penalties that Wayne had, are those a matter of just being aggressive?
I thought one was a poor penalty on his part. I thought the other one, I didn't think it was a penalty, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you had 2 bye weeks this year. Do you typically? That's kind of unusual. Do you typically like to have that? And
it is a little unusual. I love to have it before you get into conference play. I think that's big. You play your non-conference, you learn more about your team, you learn more what you have to do in certain phases of the game. Then we're gonna have a second one. Yeah, I wish that were a little bit later in the season rather than just playing 2 games and then having another bye. But that's just the way the schedule lays out. There's something about football to a rhythm that you're playing well. You want to stay into a rhythm, but there's also it's easy to say as a coach. It's not easy to say when you're an O lineman or D lineman and you've played 5, 6, 7 in a row, and you're like, holy cow, this would be a good time to get my body back. So I think this year, the way it plays out, we're taking great advantage of it this week because of what has happened in the non-conference, and we'll talk about when we get to the next one.
The fact that you're a new staff, also, does it maybe give you a little extra time to work out some kinks?
I don't think the staff has anything to do with it, so to speak, just because they're all seasoned veteran guys that have, some have worked together, but we got a good camaraderie there. So that I don't think that plays into the open week part of it.
Sean might not always be at the top of the tackles list or anything like that, but it kind of seems like his play is still having a pretty major impact on your defensive line. Where have you seen him really help that defensive front through the first 3?
Well, he's so smart. He knows everything about our defense, which is great. He knows what it means when the back's on the side of the tight end, or the back's away from the tight end and the tight end's on the ball, the tight end's off the ball, whatever it may be. He gets the game. The game slows down for Trey because he works at it hard. He watches a ton of film. He's playing at a really high level. He played a phenomenal football game on Saturday. Our defensive line in general played dynamite on Saturday, as far as they shut down the run, and some of the plays that bounced, maybe a linebacker or safety, maybe missed a tackle or got bounced off, but I think our defensive line played exceptionally well. And he's a catalyst in there at the D tackle spot because he's played so much football, and the guys trust and listen to him.
The Oklahoma State game's been scheduled for ESPN Plus. Are you worried at all about the exposure to your program to recruits being on a streaming service as opposed to over the cable?
That's over my head. That's a Kenny question or somebody. It is what it is. I think from a recruit standpoint or a young person standpoint, I think whatever network, whatever streaming it would be on, people have the ability to see it. But, those are things that we can't control.
Can you tell us a little bit about Jordan Mitty and how he's made such rapid progress these past couple games?
He's playing really well. He was one of our players of the game in the defensive line. He's a pretty quiet kid, but he plays with an unbelievable motor. Another really, really smart, savvy guy. that as the game goes on, he sees tendencies, he sees mechanics, techniques of offensive linemen and takes advantage of them. He had a number of plays in the backfield. He's playing at such a high level, and it's great because I think with people sometimes, keying on Trey, it allows Jordan to make some plays, and Jordan's taken full advantage of it. He's in the rotation. He's moved into a starting role. We're going to always play at least 3, if not 4 guys, and we played 5 guys at D tackle this week. So we're always going to play guys there. But so excited about how much he's grown within understanding our system on the defensive line, and he's a big-time playmaker.
How will the new facilities in South End Zone help student athletes and recruits in the future?
Well, I think for starters, it's the eye candy, the eyepiece of seeing it will be really cool. It'll generate more revenue, which will benefit the student athletes. From a recruiting standpoint, just to be able to tour guys through there and see another expanded area that's renovated, that's suite type, and I think all that stuff is going to be valuable in the recruiting process. But I think it shows our players, it shows the student athletes, it shows the recruits the continued commitment that Kansas State is making towards all of its athletic teams of continuing to enhance facilities.
How vital was Denzel Goolsby's play and his kind of steady, calm leadership for the first game on the road?
He's playing really, really well. And each game he gets more and more comfortable. I challenge Denzel to be more vocal on the field in practice because he has so much to give, and people so respect Denzel, and he's that calming force, like you say, out there. And he's tackling exceptionally well right now. He is, but I watch him tackle, and he's tackling really well, and he's one of our leading tacklers. But I watch the way he practices, and even when we're not in a live tackling part of practice, which you can't really be in much during once you get in the season, he's running to the spot and tagging off as if he's in the perfect hit position, which I think is going to help these younger guys, because a lot of these younger guys are learning how to practice, and Denzel has mastered how we want him to practice.
And what did you see from Walters, fill-ins, Kevion, and Patterson?
Kiwi, I thought, played a great football game, and we put an awful lot on his plate. We weren't sure. We really thought Walt had a chance. That's why we dressed him. But he couldn't go after warm-up, so Kiwi took the lion's share of the reps in practice, although Walt took some reps, and so he was thrust into it. And the thing that impressed me the most about Kiwi is we gave up the touchdown before half, which I thought he was in good position. They made a great throw and catch, and Kiwi was right there. Didn't faze him. He came out and played a really good second half, and he was on 2 special teams. We finally took him off a special team because he, like everybody else that was playing that much, was cramping. So he was cramping so much that we had to take him out and put D-pad in. And I think they saw, okay, you got another corner in the game. They went after him late, and he and Denzel break up a big-time play in the pylon of the end zone that was a shot play for them to try to tie it. And so D-pad came in and did a great job. We've talked as a staff, it's given us so much more confidence moving forward that we have more guys at that position, and that's something that we didn't know prior to the season. Kiwi had played some, but we wanted to see him in the fire, and I thought both those guys did a great job.
Along with new facilities, there's also been new traditions. How does the phrase "pound the stone" reflect a player's work ethic and their ability to go out and compete?
It's just a mantra that Ben Newman brought to us, and there's a book that a number of us read, and it's just daily, the nonstop grind of continuing to believe and continue to go to work. No matter what's in front of you, continue to pound the stone. Take everything out of your mind when you come to the practice field. Take everything out of your mind when you're in the meetings. And it's a daily grind that those guys truly believe that if I keep pounding the stone and I keep grinding and I keep hammering away at that thing every day, and I don't take any days off and I don't take any shortcuts, that when I get into a tight moment like we were in on Saturday, if you continue to pound the stone and continue to have great work ethic and continue to believe, good things are going to happen.
Are things any different at 3-0? Do you think people look at you guys any different?
I couldn't tell you that. I'm happy, obviously, that we're 3-0, but big picture, we haven't started conference play yet. We know every game is going to be a dogfight. We know that whatever you did last week has no bearing on the next week, so you better just you put your head down and go to work and make sure that you're preparing every day to be successful on Saturday. Thrilled that we're 3-0, but we have a lot of work to do.
What have you seen from A.J. Parker now versus what you saw on film a year ago?
Confidence and a playmaker and a guy that wants to be put on the spot, a guy that wants to be challenged, taking on a leadership role. I don't know if he did that last year, but he's doing all those things that I see that a dominant number one corner can do, will do, and wants to be in that spotlight. And fun player to watch. He's a great player.